Hi, I'm Ellen from LSTV, and we're here with Lucy Rose just before her gig here at Holy Trinity Church. How are you doing today, Lucy?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. So let's talk about Like I Used To back in 2012. How does the sound of that album compare to your new album?
I guess it's pretty different in many ways. Those songs were written such a long time ago now, it feels. It's kind of, the first album's definitely more acoustic based. I think every song on there is written on an acoustic guitar with arrangements. Whereas this next album, there's only 2 songs on the acoustic guitar, I think, on it. And there's a lot of electric, there's a lot of piano. I guess it's just, you can kind of tell, I guess, from our eyes and cover up that it's different in many. I guess it's more electric. It's hard to sometimes pull it apart and know what it is. They're just another bunch of songs I've written, I guess.
Do you think we can expect sort of a new musical direction from you? Is that what you would say?
Yeah, probably. It's definitely, something's evolved musically, and who knows where it will go next. But it does feel like it's moving into something else, and I think it's just, for me as an artist, it was good to try and do something which I haven't done before. And I didn't really want to just write another acoustic album. I kind of wanted to challenge myself more.
That's great. Can we talk about Our Eyes? Can you just tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the track? I think it's a really unique and amazing sounding song. How did that song come about, and how do you feel about all the great response that you've been getting?
Oh, thanks. Well, I started recording it on the way up to play Kendall Calling, and I just wrote the beginning, that sort of guitar riff, on an iPad app called Beatmaker 2, which I think is like £7. But sometimes when you're traveling a lot, it's tough to get a guitar out without annoying everybody in the van constantly playing the same few chords. So I was doing a lot of stuff on there with beats and stuff. I think that is how it came about. It had that beat and it had those sort of riffy guitars which don't even sound like guitars, particularly in the verses. And then when it came to putting it all together, the chorus just came from just an old synth, and I haven't really used many synths before, but I think it's some sort of old charity synth that my guitar player had bought, and I was playing these chords that I've been playing on the piano, and the difference it made for melodies jumping out of just having that different sound. The chorus just came in the studio, actually. It wasn't really even finished when I went in.
The music video was incredible. I couldn't believe what I was watching. The dogs, and can we just talk a little bit about the outfit that you wore? And I mean, she was wearing an outfit with sort of dog food all over it, and then there were dogs eating off you and horses eating off you. Tell me how that came about and how you got to that idea.
I mean, I can't take any credit for that idea. I think it was hard with this one because, like many of my other videos I've done, videos can be quite difficult. The making of the music is the bit I love, and the writing of the music I love. But then the visual part, sometimes I struggle to know how the song should be represented visually. And nearly everything I want to do is outside and natural. And I had this idea for Our Eyes to go to Patagonia and do something really challenging, like climb a mountain and do something which is kind of life-affirming and soul-searching. But at the same time, that was quite in line with all my other videos from my first record. So even though musically I've evolved, visually I needed to do something which has also evolved with me. So I was kind of in a rut and didn't know what to do. And then I spoke to a friend called Anna Ginsberg, who's the director, and she was like, listened to the song and said, I've got this wicked idea, and you've got to do it, because I literally can't think of another girl in the industry that would do it. So that's why it's perfect for you, because no one else will do it. And kind of when she said that, stubborn part of me was like, I'm going to do it. So she came up with it and put me in all these costumes. So all I had to do was really stand there and have seagulls eat chips off me, and bizarre stuff happen. And I think it just was good because it brought out the sort of lightheartedness of the song and the sort of, I guess, the humorous part of me, which I'm like behind the scenes with all my friends, but sometimes you can't tell.
So how do you think it's been for you getting this positive response, especially on sort of like Twitter and Facebook? There's been some really great response for what's coming up and exciting things that are happening. What do you think has been the greatest challenge of your career so far?
The greatest challenge of my career, I think so far, thanks, would be, it's all been hard. It's one of those bizarre things, is that it kind of just feels like it gets harder and harder. At the beginning, when I was playing at open mics for 5 years and nothing's happened, that feels hard, but it feels like when you get there and then you keep going, And for some reason, it does feel like it gets harder, but I don't know why that is. I think maybe it's just after the first record there was the pressure, and I think with this record being so different to the first record, I was quite scared about people who were connected and had, strong feelings towards the first record and what it made them feel. I was worried about putting our eyes out because it's so different, and I don't know if it's got that sort of raw, sort of dark emotion that some of my other songs have had, but it's got a whole other part, which is the light, that I don't think I've ever really explored personally. And also, just it's a different side of me which hasn't been seen. So I was really nervous about that coming out. And I think at the moment this feels like the hardest part of my career. It's the sort of trying to do something different and hoping everyone will come on board and come along with me. And I'm not really sure what is going to happen yet.
You mentioned briefly about sort of the light that's coming out through this music and maybe sort of a bit more of a bright sound and definitely a different sound. Where did that come from, and what prompted you to make that decision to sort of think, I'm going to do something a bit different now?
I think it was just coming to festivals and stuff. The first album was written on my own in my bedroom with probably listening to my thoughts too much, and then you go out and start playing these songs, and I was going to festivals for the first time every summer and seeing other bands, and I think it was sort of my eyes being open to the other music that's out there and watching other bands go on stage and people dancing and smiling and like having a great time. And even though I love my gigs and stuff, I felt like maybe I would enjoy having that part of that in my set as well. And going on tour with Bombay Bicycle Club and playing with them all the time, that has a big influence on me as well, because they have so much fun on stage and I have so much fun when I was playing with them that it's sort of, I guess, part of me thinks I want to do this as well. I want people to dance and have fun, and I want to be able to rock out on stage. And the first record's me sitting on a stool with an acoustic guitar. It's like the polar opposite. So I guess all of those combinations of things like that, and it was naturally going more in that direction with songs like Lines, which were written last for the record. I guess I just went for it.
So obviously we're student journalism. I read that you were going to go to UCL, study geography, but obviously worked in your favour. You decided to take a different route. What made you make that decision initially, thinking back to that time, like university versus music?
I think it was tough, because even though I really love geography and I really did enjoy physical geography at school, there was nowhere near that same passion that probably you have for journalism and I have for music. There's something that goes inside you that says, I want to do this. I am so passionate, I'll almost do anything to make it work. I'll stay up writing every night, you know what I mean? And it's that drive that I didn't really have for any of the subjects at school. So the only reason I was really applying was the pressure. The chances of me making it in music when I was 18, moving to London, were 1 in a trillion, probably. And I think my family and my friends and people knew that, and my parents didn't want me not to fulfill my potential, I guess. So the sort of push to go to university was quite apparent. So I applied and just kept deferring it. And it got to the third time I deferred, and they were like, you can't defer it anymore. And then that was a tough decision, because it was a decision of, some people were saying, you can do both, it's really easy. You can go and study in the daytime and you can play music every night, which is probably true. I could have done both. But it felt like a crazy decision to do something and be paying so much money for something that I didn't even particularly want to do. You know what I mean? Because the finance can come into that sort of thing. So I think it was just being brave and sticking to something long enough, which was what I tried.
So just talking about being brave and sort of having the courage to go out there and sort of achieve your dreams, what would you say to any young women, young girls who want to go into this industry? What would your advice be for them?
My advice, it would be, it's really hard. It's really hard. It's harder than I ever thought it was going to be. And it keeps getting harder because there's so much talent out there. So number one, you can have the talent, but you've got to work so hard at your songwriting. I think that's really what's going to make people stand out from others, because there's a lot of great voices out there and there's a lot of great musicians. At those beginning points, getting noticed is writing a great song, and I'm still desperately trying to achieve that. But I think it is that need to, really, really work hard on your songwriting, and also not to give up. I think it's really easy to feel disheartened a lot of the time when things aren't happening, and I've seen that with friends who are trying something in year 4 they go, "Oh, this is just really disheartening." But then I've seen other friends who are in bands who've been touring in a split van playing to nobody for 5 years are going, "I'm having the best time of my life. I couldn't be doing anything different." So I think you need to have that. If at the end of the day, because it's so tough you don't make it and you spend 5 years touring and playing, as long as you're happy with that at the end of the day and you know that and you're not disheartened, then I think you've got a real chance. It's that sort of determination that you love it no matter what happens, and it's not about the success, it's because you've got music in you that you have to get out and play.
That's really great advice, Lucy. Thank you so much for talking to us, and we're really looking forward to later on tonight. Thank you.